They're going. The drainage pipe is going to go from there, slope down, come spit out here. Made by Teco Block. So the tier above it starts where the bevel stops. So when it comes to the strength of a wall like that, those are all the best things you can do over the years, because as the water goes through the soil, it pulls all those fine particles in. So at this point we have one in the ground, 1, 2, 3. What's up everybody? I hope all is well. We're picking up where we left off on this project. I did not videotape me excavating, backfilling, or laying this first row of block, so this is where we're going to start. A lot of this video is going to be time-lapse. When we were building this project, it was getting really late in the season, 2023. So I just had to really keep my head down and focused on building this wall, not so much videotaping it. So I just kind of set up my camera and did a lot of time-lapses, but I will talk you through it. I'll try to do some voiceovers and throw some good music in, but we are going to add on top of this first layer by excavating and backfilling over closer towards the house, and you're going to see me lay a lot of first row block, and then Chris and I are both going to just kind of build this wall up together. And the main thing of this wall is that it's going to be supporting a driveway, so there's going to be a lot of pressure, a lot of hydrostatic pressure, and I don't typically build a wall with a setback because a lot of the times it's just not necessary, and I like the way a wall looks better when it's straight vertical. But with a wall like this, the strength is far more important than the aesthetics, so we're just going to try to take all the precautions that we can to make sure that this wall is as strong as it can be. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Rainy Saturday, but we're back. I'm gonna set up the drainage here. We got a T coming from the back. It's gonna spit out the front. We're gonna do some kind of cap or something. I haven't quite figured it out yet. The drainage pipe is gonna go from there, slope down, come spit out here, and then it's gonna go from that side, slope down, spit out here, all to one spot. If you guys watch my channel, watch me use this Sema block, I always build it straight, vertical. I don't ever really do a setback because I haven't been in a situation where I needed it yet, but this is the one. We're doing the setback with the Teco block Sema because we got a lot of weight to retain, a lot of hydrostatic pressure, so we want to take all the precautionary measures on this one. We got the back set up for the pipe, like I said, and we're gonna lay it in and backfill it to hold it down, core fill the block, and then we're gonna put geogrid on this layer. You know, one thing that's really cool about making these videos is being able to look back on the projects. You know, when you take before and after pictures, they'll obviously spike memories and you'll be able to think about the things you did on the job and things that happen. But videotaping these projects and looking back on them and just kind of reliving through the moments is one of my favorite things about the YouTube channel. You know, this job here, we just did so many things. I mean, we completely built the landscape around this house. It's just all grass and graded dirt, and we basically give the entire property, you know, character. We built the patio in the back, a back walkway. This wall in the front's gonna be a wall, steps, a walkway, just so much stuff. And you know, when you're on a job like this, sometimes it feels like it's never gonna end. It's just such a big project. And then when it ends, you know, you try to remember it because it seems like it was so long ago that you did it. But since I started my company, I've just had so many projects, and it's hard to remember them all. And as the seasons go, and you just do numerous projects, some of them you forget until it gets brought up, or like you see a before and after picture of a job you did a few years ago. That's something I'm looking forward to with all these videos. Hopefully when I'm an old man someday and I'm not doing much throughout my days, I can go back and relive my younger years. Tell you one thing, dude, you steamroll through stone, dude, with a wall like this. Oh, yeah. That 16-yard pile just goes away real quick, man. Nice property here, it's beautiful. If you guys watch my channel, you might know I'm kind of into disc golf. I really love the sport, and these people are in that community as well. That's a nice custom-made basket they had for a wedding gift, and they're very into the community. Nice people, very nice people. Most of the community that I've met in disc golf has been very, very, very cool people. All right, I'm gonna continue the wall. We went to a step up here. I'm gonna send it that way. Ben's gonna start another course and come over here. And we'll just keep moving to the right there. Just a visual guide. It's not perfect, but gives you something to go off of. Made by Techoblock. Sema is the block style. Shale gray is the color. You have 40 blocks on a pallet. So every tier has 2 solid blocks, and those are meant to be able to split and make your corners. They also help when you begin and start rows. A little bit more surface area. They're stronger when you set in the first row or stepping up. But they're useful in a few different ways, so that's why they mix it in. You don't necessarily need them all solid. But you can see here at the factory, this is basically one unit, and then they split it in half. And that's what gives it the look. You can run it as just a single-sided wall like we are, or if you're doing a double-sided, you flip the blocks around. Wow, it's hard to do with one hand. Anyway, flip them around and they go together like that. The big thing that I talk about with this wall block that I like is it has like a joint line almost, because it has a beveled edge on the block on each side, so it gives it a lot more character and cleanliness. I think a lot of cheap wall block systems, they're not going to have that bevel, so the split face just meets together, and the joint line, you can still see it, but it kind of gets lost. You can see it in the wall there. And also with the setback, another thing that's really nice with this wall is it's got the bevel going down. So the tier above it starts where the bevel stops, giving it a really nice look. When you build a straight vertical wall, these interlocking pieces would be in the center row. Then we just tack the back corners where the block's gonna hit with some glue. You'll be all set. Some people ask, will that end up turning your wall block to where it tilts forward? But it doesn't, as long as you give yourself a nice 1/8 of a pitch backwards when you lay in the first row. And if you're worried about it's a really tall wall, you can give yourself even a little bit more than an 1/8 of a pitch backwards to be safe. But that's row number 5 over here. And we're still maintaining our slope. That's what I did at the bottom. It's a touch higher than an 1/8. And also because the driveway comes down and slopes this way, we're building this wall at 1/8 of a slope to the right as well. Kind of help mesh into the grade a little bit better. So when it comes to the strength of a wall like that, those are all the best things you can do. Setback, I think 1 inch per foot, but that's like 3/4 of an inch per 6 inches or something like that. We got geogrid and clean stone, 2 to 3 feet of it behind the wall, 6 to 8 inches underneath the wall. We got the drainage. The glue on the back helps tack everything together and hold it steady. Sometimes when you're building a wall like this, you may get some blocks that wobble, and putting the glue on the back helps set those blocks into place and they don't move as much. And then it just kind of holds everything together really tight. So in the hardscape industry, there's a lot of debates about different topics and different building techniques. And one thing that gets talked about a lot is how you use GeoGrid. I've gotten comments before saying that I'm not doing it correctly because the GeoGrid's not going into the soil behind the wall. But the only way that the GeoGrid can go into the soil behind the wall is if you don't use fabric. The other way, I guess, you can cut the fabric, put the GeoGrid in the soil, and then start the fabric again. Again, there's just so many different ways to build things and different opinions on it. But my personal opinion, I would much prefer fabric and the GeoGrid only being in the backfill stone than no fabric and the GeoGrid being in the soil. I will say this over and over and over again on every one of my projects that I think the most important thing I do is use this geotextile fabric. Some people think it doesn't help. If anything, they think it hurts. They think that water won't drain through it. But the amount of benefits you get from the stabilization just far outweighs what people are worried about. And if you don't put this fabric, I'll never agree with anybody that that's the best way, because that soil will migrate. All that 3/4 stone that you put behind your wall is gonna get filled with silt and sand particles over the years, because as the water goes through the soil, it pulls all those fine particles into the gaps of your drainage stone. And in 10 years' time, all the drainage stone, quote unquote, you have behind your wall is not going to be drainage stone anymore. It's going to be full of fine particles. And that's when you start seeing walls push forward or even start to crumble, because when the water doesn't drain properly behind it, then the concrete blocks are always sitting in moisture. And nothing's going to ruin concrete quicker than moisture. Well, I guess salt too, but salt and moisture is the worst combination you can have. That's why when you see walls on the sides of roads or highways or something like that, they're typically the ones to crumble and fail the quickest because of all that salt and moisture. But anyway, that's just a side thing. But the fabric encapsulates all of your clean drainage stone and prevents it from ever getting clogged. And it also stabilizes your entire project. It almost like wraps your project in a burrito. So the stone under and behind your wall can't go anywhere. It can't shift because this fabric has got it locked in place. It's pretty much bear hugging it. I've built a lot of walls in my career, and I've also torn a lot of walls down. And every wall that has either sank, pushed forward, or crumbled, none of them had fabric, or strong enough fabric, I should say, behind it. That's another thing. People say that when I use a fabric, I shouldn't be using geotextile. I should be using a non-woven cloth fabric so that water can permeate through it easier, which I agree with that. The water will permeate through it quicker, but it will also break down quicker. And it doesn't have as much strength when it comes to stabilization because it's a very flexible material, and it can actually rip and tear very easily. So this woven geotextile fabric is key to every single one of my hardscape installs, and I'll never be told differently from somebody, because in my opinion, the experience of job after job after job, not having any problems, that means a lot more to me than just somebody else's opinion on what may or may not happen. I also want to give a shout out to these guys who are delivering the stone for me. It is Robbins Garden Center in Oxford, Massachusetts. And it's where I get as much aggregate as I can because they really have the cleanest stone that I've seen. They have really nice gray granite crushed stone with very little dust and fines in it. And if you watch my channel and you see that really nice 1/4 to 3/8 inch chip stone I use, that's also where I get it from. So I don't know where they get it from, but they do a good job cleaning it up and processing it. That worked out nicely. That's twice now they've come through on bringing me stone the day that I asked them to. 16 yards. That's where I go for most of my aggregate, so I'm getting a good relationship with them over the past couple of years. So that's nice to have. Plenty of stone to keep going. We are going a minimum of 1 block more and maybe 2 depending on the slope, but most likely 2 because we're about 16 to 18 inches lower than the driveway grade right there, and we want to bring it up nice and close to where it's just like 1/8 to 1/4 of a slope. So it's probably going to be 2 blocks higher, making it a 4-foot wall for like half of it, and then it fades down to like 2.5 and 3 foot in some areas. Here's where we are so far. Chris is here today. It's Monday, November 20th. So at this point we have 1 in the ground, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1 more block high would make it a 3.5 foot wall with 1 block fully buried, and 1 block higher than that's going to make it a 4-foot wall exposed with 1 buried, which is the maximum wall height pretty much you can build without a permit here in Massachusetts. I don't know what it's like everywhere else, but coming out nicely. Ben and Chris are gonna work on putting those rows on right there. I'm gonna continue this over here. I did all the excavation the other day off camera, but we're good. I'm gonna be stepping up right before that drainage pipe, and then we'll probably have another 1 or 2 step ups as we go. That load of stone right there puts us at 50 cubic yards we've used for this job so far, between the patio and walkway in the back, this wall, and the front walkway that we excavated and backfilled so far. It ends up costing a lot of money. This is gonna be, we got 1, 2, and then another 3rd pallet over there. That's gonna be 7 pallets of wall block we've used so far, which there's about 25 square feet, like face square feet of wall per pallet. Chris, good morning.
Is it though?
Hey, 7 times 25, dude. You're the math wizard.
175.
175. It's an easy one, right?
8 times 25 is 200.
Bang, bang. It's like quarters. So once these pallets are gone, that's 175 like face square feet of wall. It's a pretty good sized wall. What's up, dude?
I don't know, man. Is that new?
No, it's old, but the gooseneck is broken. Everything's wearing out at the end of the season right now, dude. The trailer's falling apart. Trucks' manifolds are just holding on. They're going. Man, my truck's getting there, dude. It's gonna be 7 years old next spring. So I guess that's the way it is. You guys see all these concrete block retaining walls that Amazon's building for their places? I'll be honest with you, man. There's one in Charlton, Mass, close to me. I don't know if any of the viewers are familiar with it, but that wall's got to be 60 feet or more. I don't know for sure what it is, but it wraps around the entire building because they basically built this thing on a mountain, and to bring the whole grade up, they built a block wall. But I just don't understand why all these big developers use such small wall block for these massive walls. They are not designed for that, and somehow they get away with building them like that. But they're just going to be catastrophic failures within 15 to 25 years. It's unbelievable. One example is another place that's somewhat local to my area is the Blackstone Valley shops, or what is it called? The shops at Blackstone Valley, and that's in Millbury, Mass. And they built a decent sized wall to hold up the movie theater, the lower portion of their of that plaza. And that wall didn't even last 20 years, and it was a massive wall. But the blocks started crumbling, they were shifting, and I just don't understand why they pull the trigger on these projects that size. I don't know if people aren't advising them that these blocks don't last that long, but in my opinion, they're doing it to save a lot of money because the walls cost less to build. But does it really cost less when in 20 years you have to pull it down and rebuild it? Because when you go to rebuild it, it's going to be not just twice the charge. It's probably going to be a lot more, because if you're trying to pull down a 30 to 50 foot block retaining wall, you got to excavate behind that wall at the top just as high as it is. I mean, just as far back as it is high, which is out of control. I remember when they replaced that wall at the shops at Blackstone Valley, and it was a very big project. They had to take over half of the parking lot of the cinema. But the good thing is, when they rebuilt it, they used the correct blocks, the 2 foot by 4 foot solid concrete blocks, the ones that are designed for a wall that size. And like I said, I just don't understand it. Amazon's building these multi-million dollar places, and they're cheaping out by putting the cheapest wall block out. And I just mark my words, I think in 15 to 20 years, all these brand new Amazon buildings that require these walls, they're going to start having a lot of structural problems, and they're going to be forced to have to repair these walls. And I think the cost is going to be out of control. And it's just one of those things that, you try to save money. It's just going to bite you in the long run. But let me know in the comments if you agree with me, or you know what I'm talking about. So many of these big shopping plazas, and even condos that these developers are making, they're choosing some of the smallest wall block in situations where they just shouldn't be using them. These are like residential style wall blocks. You start getting into those big developments, man, you gotta build walls with something different. But I know every project has a budget, but again, that example of the shops at Blackstone Valley, I mean, that entire plaza was getting held up by that wall at the bottom of it. I mean, everything's resting on that, and you chose the cheapest option you possibly could. And whoever owns the place, or whoever is in charge of the finances, I'm sure realized at the end they made a bad move. Time to cut some caps. It's time to cut some caps. Dude, I always feel bad when you put like marks in the driveway like that, but there's no solution, bro. People like, throw plywood down, and then the stones get under the plywood, and it's worse. Yeah. You can't clean it up, dude. It's really hard to do. Here you go.
A free driveway sealer.
No, definitely not. I'd have to factor the price in, and then it wouldn't be free, and it'd just be a bunch of baloney. That's how they do it too, man. It's unreal. Alright, we got some caps here. Techo block, architectural cap, onyx black. start off with the 90-degree here, go straight for a little while until we hit our radius. So now we're at the point where we're going to be making cuts, either every other or every block, we'll see. But it's very gradual, so I think we'll get away with it. Check this one out, dude. Right to the D. All these fancy tools out there, man, you know. I just did that lefty. Did you see that lefty line right there, bro? Whoa!
I thought we were cutting the same. I thought we were cutting the square, but now I see what you're doing. The same distance off the joint.
Same distance, it'll line up. Yep. Yeah, dude, I think that's pretty much the way we're gonna have to go. Hey, hey! Looks pretty damn good, dude. That's gonna do it for this video, guys. There's not much left to do on this wall other than the cap. And then we also backfill and grade that whole area for the asphalt guys to be able to finish the driveway extension. But you're going to see that in the next few videos as we start the front project. I kind of work back and forth from the front and this one and kind of wrap them both up together. So I'm going to include the rest of this wall in those videos. But I hope you enjoyed this one. If so, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're not already for a lot more content like this. But you guys already know the deal. Until the next one, God bless. Peace.